I hope it's going to be easy, like to go through this session after a nice lunch hosted by Safir. I have a very nice panel, and we are going to talk a bit about collaboration and innovation, and it's a good example for you to have key takes from this conversation. I want to introduce you to Patricia Cortada, International Airlines Group, IAG, Gavin Jackson from Gatwick Airport, Lucas Scorupa from Menzies, Christian Hen from Asaya, Richard Wilton from Emu Analytics, and Harvey Tate from IAG.
Hi everyone, my name's Harvey Tate. I work for IAG. Is that going to move on? So yes, I work for International Airlines Group. So that's the parent company of British Airways, Iberia, Vueling, Aer Lingus. We also have the cargo business and loyalty. We're in progression to hopefully acquiring Air Europa as well. So I work at the group level. I worked for many, many years in British Airways before I moved over. And I work in a team called Hangar 51, which you may or may not have heard of. So we tend to look at that 3 to 5 year out time period, that horizon, what we call Horizon 3, where we look at new technologies that are going to impact our business and new business models. And we're speculative. We're like a research and development agency. So the funding we get from our group is write-off. So we look at technologies and we speculate and we trial and we test and we help our companies, our airlines, do tests and trials. So we have an accelerator program, which companies in. We have a ventures team who invest in those companies that we think are strategically aligned and of value to us. And we do also straightforward R&D. So we work with our businesses, our teams, and try and understand their problems and help them and say we'll bring in companies, some of which are on the panel today that have come through and succeeded into our business. So today I want to talk about the bit that I'm interested in, and that's automation. So probably from about 2016, I've been working on various projects around how do we automate not only above the wing for our customer, but here below the wing. And there's some really exciting projects that we've done, and I want to take you through them. So you're all ground handlers, you're all in the ground handling business. I'm not going to dwell on this, but I think you know this problem, that it's a heavily intensive manpower business turning aircraft around in a hazardous, safety time critical part of the operation. And now we're really resource constrained. Coming out of the pandemic, I think we've all struggled to get the right people with the right qualification, the right skills in the right places at the time to help keep our businesses running on track. So from my Hangar 51 perspective, what I was looking for is technologies that will actually say, take the person out. What's 100% automation going to be? So I'm not interested in technologies that are going to help make something more efficient for an individual. I want to actually look at technologies that are going to actually automate the whole process, whatever that process is, and go to 100% automation. And around our business, we tend to call that dark airport. So how could we automate absolutely everything such that you could turn the lights off and go to a dark airport? That may never happen. It will be at least decades before it does. But that's the lens through which we looked at the problem to try and find these solutions, which I'm going to talk about a few of them now. So this is a video which I hope with some sound. Oh no, sorry. We split the work up into 3 sections. I'll talk it through. We split the work up into 3 sections.
Automation is having a transformative impact on businesses around the world, changing how people and technology interact in society and industry. Not only can it make our lives safer, but also for businesses, it provides operational efficiencies and improves productivity. At airports, there has been significant focus on digitizing the customer journey. This has changed the way airlines interact with passengers. But what about the parts of our operation customers don't see? The below-the-wing operation. Baggage, ramp, and cargo logistics are complex, and processes have remained largely unchanged for years. A series of manual activities happen repetitively each day and require multiple teams to engage. Through the introduction of technologies such as machine vision, artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, and robotics, we could revolutionize our operation, moving away from today's manual processes, just like logistics and manufacturing industries have. The journey to an automated airport starts on the ramp, where the aircraft arrival, the unloading and loading of customers' bags and cargo can be done autonomously. The introduction of drones and autonomous vehicles to the ramp could also mean aircraft checks and servicing could take place on stand, reducing towing and maintenance times, as well as improving safety. With passengers, luggage and cargo on board, following a speedy turn, the aircraft is ready to fly. Off-stand, the opportunities continue with automated handling of baggage and cargo. Imagine a world where robots can load customers' bags and cargo into containers, and when it's ready to go, an autonomous vehicle safely delivers the container to the aircraft side. Airports, albeit complex, with multiple vehicle movements, provide a great platform for autonomous vehicles. The controlled environment and repetitive nature of routes mean that adoption can be faster than on public roads. As well as moving baggage and cargo, autonomous vehicles can also transport customers and crew, deliver spare parts to engineers, perform activities such as de-icing and aircraft cleaning, and maybe even transport our customers directly to their final destination. But how do we manage this automation? A centralized brain which coordinates activities taking into account information from all over the airport, aircraft themselves, and external data sources will allow greater control, flexibility, and visibility of the below-the-wing operation. There is a great opportunity for revolutionizing the way airports, airlines, and ground handlers operate in the future, embracing emerging technologies and better utilizing data to seamlessly coordinate the running of our airports.
Okay, so as I was just about to say before the video started, we split our work into 3 bits. Now, the video shows the utopia, the absolute, total automation of everything. Some of those aspects are a long, long way and may never happen, I don't know. But so what we did is we looked at what was achievable in the near term in that sort of 3 to 5 year time frame. So we split it into 3, baggage, vehicles, autonomous and teleoperated vehicles, and smart stand. So today I'm going to take you through all of it, but I'm going to really focus on smart stand as something that we think can deliver value right now. So when we looked at that subset of projects, we had about 7 different projects cut across those 3 streams. This is our sort of target. We're saying, well, okay, well, what could we achieve if we implemented them? So we looked at some data from 2018. So BA suffered with 1.5 million minutes of delay from Heathrow in 2018. Not great. And of those minutes, they're categorized into different delay codes. And we looked at the projects we were doing, which I'll show you in a minute. And we talked to the business and said, well, if we implement all of these, what do we think is a realistic figure? And we thought we'd actually achieve a 30% improvement based on this, which I think is really, really, really conservative. I think it will deliver a lot more. But if you sum that up and you apply that to all the different delay codes and that 1.5 million minutes, actually that conservative 30% improvement, I actually deliver a 16% improvement in punctuality, which for BA at Heathrow is massive. So it gives you that opportunity now to go and talk to the business and say, look, work with us on these projects because the size of the prize is great. And not only is it just about punctuality, so we know that NPS is directly linked to punctuality. As planes are delayed, our NPS, our net promoter scores, customer satisfaction, goes down. So the more we can do to drive punctuality up, our NPS will go up, and the NPS score will go up by several digits. Manpower, we've done some work around resourcing. I haven't put the figure on here, but it's tens of millions of pounds per year saved on manpower. And then we're also on a track to 0 injury in our business and personal injury, which is nothing to be ignored. So first of all, baggage. So this is we worked with a small company in Finland who had a nice concept. So at Heathrow, we do have baggage robotics through our supplier Vanderlande, but we always have had problems with them. And it puts a bag in one at a time. The sort of unique selling point of what ePiece was showing us conceptually was that actually they're going to build molds of bags, and those molds would be put into the ULD in one go. And that means your interaction with the ULD is much quicker, and you can get the high level of bags into the ULD, so you're not using more ULDs. So we said, okay, nice concept. So with Heathrow Airport, we actually funded a concept. So they went off and we said, right, now build it in your factory. So this video shows actually the real live, one of our ULDs being filled with bags. So they created the mold for the wing, and that goes in. Then the jig that the ULD is held in is flipped around, the bags fall out due to gravity, and fall into place, I should say. And then the main body is done. So we got to that point just before COVID, and unfortunately COVID stopped the work, but we did show with that company that actually, yes, this concept is achievable, and that's kind of what we're doing in Heathrow, in Hangar 51. And now we want to try and move on with them to show, right, how can we build a production version of this? And so this is one where I think we really are talking about 3 to 5 years away before we can have a product on the market that can be put into our business. And also, retrofitting a baggage hall with a system like this is quite expensive and challenging. However, when we've done the figures, T5A has a baggage hall which is about 400 meters long and I think about 50 meters wide, full of laterals, conveyor belts, and loading bays. When we went through the figures and conceptually, actually, we could use about 10% of that space with a system like this to deliver the same throughput of bags, which is astronomical. So when you're thinking more strategically, as we do at Heathrow, maybe there'll be a Terminal 6 at some point. Should we be building a terminal with a 400-meter baggage hall with 20-odd lateral islands? Or should we be thinking about putting in one? Do we even need to build a baggage hall? Can we accommodate it in the existing terminal? Which will take billions of pounds off the bill. So that's baggage. Next stream of work, we looked at autonomous and tele-operated vehicles. So there's 2 examples. One of them you saw yesterday. So our friends at Origo, we worked with them on the Auto Dolly. And if you were in the session yesterday, you would have seen all about that. But it was a great piece of work where we started with them. We put the money up, and they reacted. Even before we signed the contract, they were coming back with the first prototype. And we had that within a short number of months operating in T5, around T5C. The little video on the right-hand side is another supplier that we work with, Terberg, on our cargo side. And here they're sort of demonstrating tele-operated vehicles. And lastly, and this is where I want to focus a wee bit more, Smart Stand. So here we've got 5 projects. So we're looking at the stand and the turn as a whole. And I'll go through each of these. So pushback, you may be aware that we use MotorTalk. Billy from MotorTalk is here, has got a stand. So we work with MotorTalk from a very early stage, and we help them develop the product from a hangar movement piece of kit into an operational turnaround pushback device. We're continuing to talk to them about upscaling the device so that we can go for wide bodies. What you notice here is actually we've got a 1-man push. So we used to have 9 people involved in a turnaround. That reduced to 5 people with the introduction of this and other multi-skilling initiatives. It was a great enabler to actually change the way we do pushback. Many more people can now push back the aircraft because it's much simpler training. The device is on stand, it's always there. It was one of our #1 delay codes was pushback because the tug was delayed on a previous job before it could get to this turn. Whereas now the person's on the stand doing the turn, the MotorTalk's right there for them. Plus it's electric, and so there's 0 emissions. So as I said, we're working with them to move to a wide-bodied version. But also what we'd like to do is work towards an automated or a teleoperated. Can we put that person in a back office with the right situational awareness with screens and sensors such that they can push that aircraft back remotely? IATA. So what we have real problems is we rely on our turnaround managers or people on the ramp to actually manually record when things happen. All too often that's not done or it's inaccurate. IATA is brilliant because it has cameras on the ramp watching all the time, using machine vision to spot events. And out the back of IATA, we get a lovely structured data set of reliable, robust data that says the catering truck turned up at this time, the jet bridge was put on at that time, the fuel went in, etc. So we can now start to use that data to actually predict or start to say when things are going wrong and predict when things should happen. And then once we've got that data, on the other side of the digital twin is we've got EMU. And there's somewhat overlap between IATA and EMU. That's fine, and we like that. But once we've got the reliable data, right, what do we do with it? And we need a company such as EMU to help us analyze the data, and in the first instance, visualize it and show us what's going wrong. And then from a digital twin perspective, our intent is then to, as I say, make predictions, just like the Unify with Brian this morning, make predictions. And then once we get confident with predictions, the next step will be to create automated actions. So we're still in an early stage with digital twin, but what this slide is showing, and I like this slide because it's really simple. We know we've got a problem at Heathrow with aircraft arriving on time, taxi in, they get to the stand, and they can't pull onto stand because the person hasn't arrived to do the safety sweep, and that person hasn't turned the stand guidance on. So the pilot is left stranded in the taxiway, saying to the passengers on board, they're very sorry, but we're just waiting for the stand guidance to be activated. It happens all too often. I travel a lot on BA in Heathrow, and I'm sure people in here do as well. It's really frustrating as a passenger to arrive on time after a good flight, to then watch that customer satisfaction just dissolve away with the frustration of not being able to pull on stand. So EMU took beacon data, aircraft, the ADS-B data, and they can see the aircraft land, they can track it in, and actually they can see it dwelling just short of its stand. And what they're doing is they're doing the analytics to show for a time, well, the one highlighted in blue, which is the yellow line above, is a worst offender for that particular week back in 2022, a 777-200, waited for 47.5 minutes to pull onto stand. And what was the problem? It burnt 1.5 tons of fuel. So this visualization from EMU is now helping drive change within our business so that we can now say, right, let's get that stand guidance on, whether that's more people or whether that's more automation. So we are working on automation to do it, but in the short term, it's helped solve that problem. And it's tools like this that drive the message home to it. And since then, we've gone on further and further to with EMU to do different use cases. And on that subject, so right, if we are going to turn the stand guidance on, what have we got to do? Well, we've got to do a FOD check that the stand is safe. So at the moment, someone has to walk the line and manually look for FOD. So we worked with a small company called Argos AI from Turkey, who have a camera mounted on the gantry, which periodically scans across the apron, and it can spot a sugar cube at 80 meters and create an alert. It can also use machine vision and AI to determine what's a temporary object, like a bird or a leaf, versus something that might cause an aircraft engine problems. So ideally what we want to do is be able to declare the stand safe, there's no FOD, all the equipment's in the right place, and then we can work with the airport to turn the stand guidance on. And if we can do that, the aircraft can pull on. And the next bit is actually how do we get the jetty on? So you go and talk to JBT or ThyssenKrupp at Delphi. It's nice to see now that we've got technology coming which we can buy, which is actually either remote control, someone sat in a back office, rather than actually having to be on the stand, just operating jet bridges, or it's an automated, autonomous. This jet bridge itself can use autonomy controls to put itself onto the side of the aircraft. And I'll leave it there. That's probably given us a little bit more. I've rattled through that really quickly.
Thank you very much, Harvey, for this interesting presentation, which brings together different stakeholders, different solutions under one roof, and this is what with Hangar 51 and AAG you have managed. I'm sure that many of us were wondering, how did you, Harvey, and your team convince your management to invest in this initiative?
So it goes back to 2014 when Hangar 51 was created. It was a recognition by the IAG board that we were not investing enough in research and speculating. So at that time when we created Hangar 51, we basically, the IAG MC, which consists of all the CEOs of our airlines, agreed that we should basically put money towards R&D or speculative ideas. And we don't have to raise a full business case for those projects. We had a streamlined governance. We still had governance over the top of it with key members from our business. And we'd present a single page and we'd get money to test and trial. But having said that, so on an individual project basis, the approval was lighter. We then looked at procurement and we streamlined the trial agreement. So we didn't land a startup company with 150 pages of T's and C's, but a lighter weight procurement document. But overall, IGMC is still saying, Hangar 51, you still have to, in the long term, provide benefit for our business. So some of the companies, some of the things we look at do succeed. And because we look at transformative ideas, they succeed big. And that's what pays back.
And if I may ask, because your management may have their expectations on the benefits and the return of investment,
yeah.
Like which would be the most significant?
So I think so. They look at us as a whole and want to see us make a return on all of our projects. We do, sometimes get criticism. They say, "Oh, you did this project, it didn't work, didn't succeed," but some of them will, some of them do, and we have to make that happen, and that's how we show our return. But then, as things come out of the Hangar 51, they go through the normal project life cycle. So during the test and the trial, we're hopefully demonstrating what the value is and what the business case is, quantifying what the return on investment is for the business. And that helps gets it in. And because it's high level, the IGMC tend to have a view of what we're doing. You get that high value, high level stakeholder engagement from the start.
Thank you. Bringing this partnership together to achieve under one single project and make this project happen, I guess that there were many technological challenges that you have faced during the creation of this initiative. Patricia, what would be those main challenges that you have faced to put this all together?
So in terms of partnership, it's true that's challenging to establish the right partnership, but from my perspective, it's the key for success. So at the end, the airport is an ecosystem, so we need to work together and have the same direction and same goal. And regarding your question on technology challenges, so it's true that there are technology challenges. Those can be around the standardization, data security, and others, but the real key challenges are maybe others that are not technology related, referring to regulators, operational challenges, economic challenges, and also in regards of data protection. And to overcome them, we need to work together. In this instance, for example, associations like IATA can support and lobby everyone in this field to overcome them. And at the end, there is technology available and there's a need to transform. It's just that we need to do the right steps together to achieve this.
And I guess here there's a lot of human factors aspects, and I'm wondering, Christian, in terms of change management, what is the main challenge?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because in my book, for successful innovation, you need three things. First of all, of course, the technology needs to work, but you also need adoption by the users of the technology. And in the end, you need value creation, so business outcomes. And the second one is easily overlooked as everyone gets excited about the technology. And it's almost like, lying on the couch, watching your watch, seeing that you only did 100 steps today. Unless you act upon it, it's a cool gadget, but it doesn't create anything. So for us, it's very important to focus on the second element. Once the technology is there, how do we make people use it, and how do we change the way they do their jobs, which they sometimes have been doing for 20 years in a different way. And there's very interesting dynamics there as well, where we see that people who have been in a job for a very long time, are finding it more difficult to change their habits than people who just come in. And I think many people in the audience will see that lots of turnover in the industry is a bad thing, and then I think on many fronts it is. But on this front, it actually helps a bit, because people who come in new, they don't have this history of habits of doing things the old way, and we can train them to use it the right way. But in the end of the day, I think sort of care and attention towards these people that we ask to change the way they do their work is very important, so they feel heard, they feel seen, and also share the benefits. So once they do things differently, measure the outcome and bring it back to them so that they also see the outcome of the efforts that they are putting in.
So somehow it goes back to the question about measurement of the benefits. And I would like also because IAG has brought together different stakeholders, has brought London Gatwick Airport into the picture, and this could be seen like a private initiative that the airports are trying to help, but there must be some benefits for the airports to support and get engaged in this type of initiative. Gavin?
Yes, I think the important thing is we need to work as a team. We need to collaborate. We need to invest together. And even before we talk about purchasing and installing new systems, there's the investment of resources and time and energies from the airport, who look after the infrastructure, the airline, the suppliers, and the ground handlers themselves. From the airport point of view, improved performance can help improve service and protect reputation for the airport. We can look at making improvements around stable operations, so reduction of safety incidents, being able to respond and recover from any off-plan activity, reducing the reliance on labour to get back to a stable operation. We need to look at the sustainability of the resourcing model. Post-pandemic, we are all competing for resources, and we are continually trying to outdo each other or compete and recruit the staff that we need to maintain and run our businesses. So reducing that reliance on labour again is key as we look to grow in the future. And the last piece for us really, I think, as an airport point of view, is around adherence to schedule, being able to have on-time performance, being able to grow. We have plans to optimize the performance of our main runway and to bring our northern runway into dual operational use. We can only do that with an efficient ground operation. So investing in technology will help us achieve that.
And what will be like the main challenge to implement artificial intelligence or this type of innovative technology into the airport infrastructure?
I think there's a few key challenges. I think upfront, making sure we're very clear around service standards, KPIs, the performance, the problem we're trying to solve. We need to be very clear and agreed upfront around roles and responsibilities when it comes to things like legal, liabilities, safety case work, the work and relationship with the regulator. And I think one of the other challenges for us as an airport is we are continually investing in our asset base. We have a whole asset replacement program, and it's about trying to make sure that those decisions and those investments that we're making now are future-proofed. We don't believe in investing millions of pounds in new infrastructure now if in 3 or 5 years' time it's been superseded with some of the new developments we're working on already.
Thank you. And like we have heard yesterday, there's lack of innovation in terms of below the wing, and we can see that with this example that it's not completely true in the sense that there's already awakened organizations that are looking forward to changes. I would like to ask Christian, data-driven decisions to be more predictive is what maybe we are all heading to be more ahead of time of problems. how has artificial intelligence changed airport or ground operations?
So as you've seen, our business is really creating data from video, which is using artificial intelligence technology called computer vision. And I think the exciting part is, again, how do you put this data to use? And we see sort of three different areas where our customers are, how they're using this data. And the first is really real time, because if we know everything that's going on, we also know what is not going on. So, for example, if a catering truck doesn't show up at D minus 25, before our customers started using our technology, they might just miss that. And the cabin crew would need to go to the captain, and the captain would need to radio into the ops center, and the message would be something like, hey, shouldn't catering have been here already 20 minutes ago? And then you've already lost 20 minutes. So what we're doing is, using the data and basing alerts off of that data, that in the moment when the catering truck is not there when it's supposed to be there, let the responsible person know so that they can take action directly and therefore minimize the impact of this individual deviation on the overall on-time performance. And we've seen for airlines like Alaska Airlines and many carriers in JFK Terminal 4 that this actually can reduce ground delays to 4 to 5 minutes. So that's a serious business impact, I'd say. The second thing is, if we know everything that's going on in the turn, we can use machine learning, which is another AI technology, to predict when an aircraft is ready to leave or when it's actually leaving the stand. And this information can be used for purposes like gate planning, other resource planning, or departure sequencing. If you think about the airport environment, the key thing is, when does the airport come and when does it go? So when is our loading team available for a next job? Or when is the pushback tug available for a next job? When is the gate available for next plane? The earlier we know that these resources are not going to be available when we thought they were going to be available, gives us time to adjust the plans and act accordingly. And I think the last sort of domain is about, if we collect all this data for each turn, every day, all day, then you build a huge amount of data that you can use for historical analysis purposes and find out why did certain flights delay, or which gates cause more problems with GPU connections than others. So you can really do sort of deeper root cause analysis as to why things go south.
Yeah, and this is something also that us as passengers, we are using like common apps that already predict the delay of a specific flight because it has a history and so on. I'm wondering about so many data sources that need to be compiled for us, ground handlers or airlines, to have a holistic vision on what is happening on the turnaround and to be like more effective with the use of resources. So I would like to ask like how we have overcome, or what are the main challenges for the implementation of artificial intelligence in the case of MU analytics, because we have seen it in the video, to be able to have this holistic vision of what happens during the turnarounds on the airport operations. Richard.
Yeah, so as you saw in Harvey's presentation, we provide the analytics software layer that really turns a lot of that data into insights. And there are both technical and non-technical challenges that we face. We bring in data from multiple different sources, and those sources are typically owned by different parts of the ecosystem. And really, the biggest non-technical challenge is to get that ecosystem together, collaborate in making the right data accessible to applications so that it can be analyzed in context in a timely and appropriate manner. And then moving on to the more technical challenges, the standardization and consistency of data. For example, we take telemetry data from a lot of ground vehicle fleets. That is not necessarily standard, but to give that single holistic view of the whole airport operation, you need to introduce logic and algorithms to standardize and normalize that data. If you want to contextualize movements and positions of ground vehicles in the context of the taxiing behaviors or the dwell behaviors of aircraft on the ground and the business processes that are being initiated, then a lot of moving parts that are not technically aligned but are aligned from a business purpose, you have to build up some quite complex logic to understand how those things interrelate. And then that again comes back to the ecosystem, because all the parties not only need to build to share and collaborate, but they need to derive benefit from their involvement in that process. The actual analytics piece, without wanting to trivialize it, is almost the easy bit. You know, that's where there are companies like ourselves who are subject matter experts in how you manipulate and process and analyze data. But quite often the tougher challenges are getting access to the data, making sure the data is fit for purpose, understanding the business use cases where there are questions that can be answered of that data, and then presenting it in a way that is intuitive and clear to the end user, who end user may be a person, it may be a process, but it needs to be provided in a way that can be acted upon. So really, it's quite a collection of challenges, but you know, it's getting there, and it's communities like this which really are that stepping stone.
So even just by the collection of all that data, you can also create challenges to the operator in the way they have set up or mapped their processes for further improvements. I would like to ask to Lucas, because of representing the ground handling service providers, like with the current challenges that we have in our industry, like in others, with shortage of skilled staff, if it's possible to continue in ground handling operations without getting engaged into automation.
Of course it is. It's just not with 1 week notice like we experienced last year. It needs time. The processes, recruitment processes, training processes take time and efforts, and for ground handling providers to absorb the cost, and the cost is quite significant. The aviation industry is very adjustable. What we experienced the last 3 years, and therefore my view, and I hope everyone agrees, is the question we have to ask if we want to go that way, if we want to continue working the traditional way, or move ahead to automate the processes, to become more resistant to the future crises that may come, and more independent on manpower recruitment processes and training and required training processes. Just to give you an example, at one of the regions we still have 100% staff turnover under wing, and that cost us to convert it to, let's say, 1,000 staff cost us $3 million to hire and to train. Now when we are talking together with our partners, airline partners, airport partners, about how we can improve the process, how we can automate, we are talking about the increased safety, more resistance, independence on the manpower that will help all of us long term.
And what do the ground handlers need to hear from the airlines to feel encouraged to invest into automation?
I think we need to hear that they want to sponsor this. We need to hear they want to work with us, but not only with us, but also with other airport stakeholders on the processes itself, and they understand the advantages coming back to them, maybe not short term, but long term, in form of the increased safety, performance, optimize shortened turnarounds, and enhance passenger experience. I think this is, in short summary, this is what we would like to hear, that they really want to partner with us.
And in your specific case, what is your practical implementation vision for automation?
As a Menzies, yes?
Yeah, as Menzies.
So we are in the process of evaluating our innovation plan. We already have a firm sustainability plan to become fully sustainable and carbon neutral by 2033. That is will be 200th anniversary of the company. that includes, of course, converting all GSC into electric, 100% electric equipment, implementation of different innovative technologies. But as we speak today, we already have robots engaged at one of our cargo warehouses in UK. We are already testing AI technology on our fuel bowsers and fuel hydrants in United States. So there is work in progress on this.
I imagine. And talking about vision, if I may ask you, Harvey, like what is the vision for a group like IAG with so many AOCs, British Airways, Iberia, Vueling, Aer Lingus? What is the vision for the implementation of this project?
So I think, going back to what Hangar 51 does, it's about speculating and showing and encouraging our business to take on these technologies. Who knows where automation will take us? But I think it's key that as a business that we bring the people with us, so our staff, and the same for the ground handlers. And Christian mentioned it is if you like, the genie's out of the bottle. You can't put it back in the bottle. But what you can do is help people access the technology and understand what it does and show them how it works. It's education, it's socializing it, and it's educating people to be able to use it and up their skills, up people's skills so that they can take advantage of it. So when we've run trials, and Richard mentioned it yesterday on Origo, is that we have union reps sometimes that are part of the trial, and they understand it, and they can help deliver the message back to show that this project's being done properly, it's being done for good. We're looking at all the safety, we're looking at working practices and things like that, that we're taking consideration of them, and that people have an opportunity to take advantage of it if they want to. Mm-hmm. And that's absolutely key. But I think we've got to invest as an industry in automation because of workforce challenges. We've come out of the pandemic, we've restarted, we've had to hire people very quickly. But cost of living means that actually those people may be able to go after different jobs in different industries that aren't outside in a noisy, hazardous, time-pressured environment. Mm-hmm. And so therefore we need to push our industry on. And I think as an industry we've collaborated in the past, and we have standards, and we as airlines know that we can fly to any airport in the world, and it will be standard processes. But that's also our downfall, is that those standards haven't moved on, because we almost need every airport to come on this journey with us. So as an IAG, we can be somewhat effective within our group and our hub airports, but we need to work in partnership with the ground handlers and suppliers to actually help drive this into all the outstations across our network as well, so that when we fly to a new outstation, we know we can still access these new automation technologies. I don't know how far it will go. Mm-hmm. We want to push it as far as we can.
And I'm wondering about that. And what is your vision on which airports are more feasible to implement new technology? And maybe this question is for you, Patricia, because you are a global airline group, but with a high presence in Europe. So I can imagine that you have already identified which airports in your network would be the most feasible ones to continue with London Gatwick. We have heard the challenges and the opportunities, but which would be those type of airports?
So I have to say that from feasibility of infrastructure, it's true that ones are maybe better than others. But the key is the willingness to transform and the willingness to collaborate with us. So we work with our hubs for sure, but we also work with the wider network. And the benefit of that is that we can cross-share information, and also we can do multi-airport trials. And in terms of feasibility, and ultimately there are several factors. One is the infrastructure, the existing infrastructure, but we need to speak about the budget availability and the stakeholder engagement, right? However, the airlines are continuing to prioritize the passenger experience and the operational efficiency, and we will see that the airports increase the embracing this enhanced technology. And proof of that, for example, in IAG, we are part of the Gatwick Innovation Hub. And another example is that we recently signed an agreement with Pittsburgh Airport for innovation and trialing in IAG Airlines. And to mention as well the handlers and another example, because that's tangible. As part of our supplier relationship management program, we periodically review the technology roadmap of our handlers, and we work together to redefine that.
So you're already working in identifying all those possible stakeholders. I would like to ask you, Harvey, like, which would be the key message, like maybe because I'm aware a bit of the time, what would be the key message to the industry to engage into innovation and motivate them?
So I think, well, from my perspective, it's like, well, don't get left behind, and speculate. As a company, we should all be investing 5-10% of our revenue into R&D. So actually go out there with a mindset to try, learn, and see whether you can progress these transformation ideas. AI, as you probably all have seen in the press, is coming. It will affect all our jobs. We need to understand it.
And I will have like a last question, and most probably would be for IAG, it would be for Menzies. What is it that you need from IATA to support this type of projects towards innovation?
So we need standards. So we need industry drive. So with IATA, ACI's help, and other forums, we need to push this forward. It needs industry leadership to create an industry business case, but standards around like APIs and data that haven't really been thought of in the past. With manual processes, what do we need for automated processes? What data needs to be shared?
Thank you. And just to wrap up, and for the audience to have like maybe a key remark on what would motivate them as part of the industry to go ahead for that implementation of innovation and not, as you were saying, not to be left behind. Which would be your key remark?
You want me to take?
Yeah, please.
So I will say focus on prioritize your customers, collaborate with the stakeholders, and take a transformative approach. My view is by doing so, we will see higher efficiency and improve customer satisfaction.
Thank you. So customer-centric. Gavin?
I think communication and engagement with people will make or break the success of your trials.
Lucas?
Think long term. The results of automation will not come quickly. It's a long-term process that should be implemented as soon as possible.
Thank you. Christian?
Yeah, I think the industry would definitely benefit from a bit more entrepreneurship. Like, we're doing a lot of pilots and projects and thinking about investments. There's also a cost associated with not making the investment. And especially if there's evidence from other airports that there's already benefits being achieved, then every day that you don't make that investment also has a cost associated to it. So sometimes we just have to, I think, be a bit more entrepreneurial about some of these things.
Thank you. Richard?
And I'd say don't worry too much about the technical complexity of data analytics, but really try and build up that ecosystem where all the different parties can really collaborate from a data and an end user perspective on the benefits of what data analytics and AI can bring out.
Thank you. Richard? Harvey, sorry?
I think I said it already, but yeah, don't get left behind. Test, trial, speculate, and learn, and iterate and move on. Set up your companies to have that function.
Thank you. We hope that with this example, you can see that innovation below wings under a partnership, collaborative initiative is possible. It's happening. And as Harvey was saying, don't be left behind and start looking at this innovation. We thank in behalf of IATA to the IAG Group for bringing this initiative to all its partners, Menzies, London Gatwick Airport, ASIA, and MU Analytics for bringing this session. Please rate the session. It will appear the code on the screen. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for attending.